Today, I want to explore small projects and why they're the most important thing to work on in your shop. So let's get started building this cutting board rack. But before we can talk about small projects, we need to define what a small project is. And small can be pretty subjective. Especially early on, small things can feel like really big undertakings. But since we have to define it, let's just say a small project is anything that can be easily moved around, like boxes, cutting boards, or even whatever this thing might be. But the most important thing about small projects is they are highly purposeful, built to fill a need. And speaking of need, I need to finish ripping this maple down, and I'm doing it over at the bandsaw because I felt more comfortable this way over the table saw. But the bandsaw does leave a bit of a rough finish, and that's nothing a single pass of the planer can't fix. With the stock ready, it's time to chop these boards down to size, and while I do that, I can't help but think about the joinery for this project. Whenever I start a project, I always think through the joinery first, and it's because it has to be purposeful. The right joints will add strength, and the wrong ones will fail over time. So what I'm going for is dados, and a good set of dados starts with the layout. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that my layout is consistent. Here, accuracy is secondary. The most important thing is to make sure that all my parts come out identical. And that's why I'm putting the actual pieces in place rather than taking any measurements. And then when I get to actual cutting, I'm going to stay inside of my lines and slowly sneak up on the final fit. So while I finish marking, let me tell you why I chose dados. First, they're strong, and this rack is going to have to support some weight as those cutting boards lean on the upper supports. And the second reason, I've never done them like this before, and I figured it would be a great project to try them on. Oh, and a consistency tip. By taping the boards together and cutting them at the exact same time, I'm making sure that they will be identical and that the dados on each side of this base will line up exactly. But back to the point I was making, small projects are important because they're skill builders. They're an opportunity to test out new processes or joinery methods when the stakes are small. If I mess up one of these pieces, I'll just grab another 6-inch chunk of maple and do it over again. It's that safety net of knowing a mistake won't break the bank that allows me to test and stretch my skills, and I've realized it's in these small projects that I've grown the most as a woodworker. For example, this box that I made was the first time I ever did frame and panel construction, which gave me the skills I needed to make this cabinet. You might notice that we're basically done with this project. All the parts are cut, joinery is complete, and it's time to assemble. The rest of the project is going to come together pretty easy, but what's not easy is learning how to make things easy. And that's a weird way to say it can be difficult to learn things on your own. And I know experience is a great teacher, but by reading and learning and taking classes, it accelerates your skill building. Especially when you have someone like me who's already done all the research, tried different methods, and is there to act as your guide. And that's exactly why I've created online courses to help you become a better woodworker. And I made these because I wanted a place where I could really expand and go deep on specific topics like sharpening, using hand planes, and other technical tasks that I often just gloss over in videos like these. So if you're interested in expanding your woodworking knowledge and skills, there's a link to the courses down in the video description, and I hope to see you over there. But now it's time to get back to the build, and I have a little bit of a problem. The rack isn't sitting flat. No big deal, nothing ever sits flat right off the bat, but with a little pat, the hand plane makes it flat. Sorry, my kids have been on a little Dr. Seuss kick recently. But on a serious note, every project needs some type of fine-tuning right at the end, and all this needed was a couple of swipes with the hand plane before I could go over and apply some finish. For the finish, I'm going to use some homemade cutting board conditioner. And if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that I like to end every video with a lesson. And since this video is all about small builds, the lesson here is that small things can be just as satisfying as the big ones.